Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another FB Live in Fire Your Inner Critic, Find Your Inner Badass, and finally build your business. I'm Cassandra Von Worsley. This has been an interesting week. I've been trying to do most of these FB Lives outdoors, for those of you who know me pretty well, or if you listen to my She Runs the Show podcast, which you can find on SoundCloud at That was so funny. That was a tongue twister and I didn't even know it was. You can find the podcast She Runs the Show at soundcloud.com/She Runs the Show. So I have been trying this entire week to do these FB Lives outdoors. And on the one hand, I'm so glad that I did because you get to see how beautiful Wyoming is in the background, minus the cows mooing in the morning and the rain happening last minute. I'm out by Fremont Lake. I think this is Fremont Lake. I'm pretty sure it is. It has been interesting. It has forced me to stretch and get out of my comfort zone. I will say, though, having done this a number of times and having blips happen, I definitely prefer doing it from my home office, even though the home office is not so pretty. So you will probably not see me do FB Lives in nature that often because there's a lot that goes into this. Okay. So what are we talking about on today's FB Live training? We're actually doing double back-to-back episodes. So if you are watching this on YouTube and you see me with the same sweatshirt and the same hat, well, back-to-back episodes. Okay, so what I want to talk about today is 5 strategies that you can use to put whole mind into present action. One of my biggest things as a coach that I love to teach entrepreneurs and aspiring entrepreneurs, it is part of your inner leadership toolkit, is this concept of whole mind into present action. For example, if I am teaching on this FB Live, but I am answering emails, I am talking to people while I'm teaching you, I am not putting whole mind into present action. When I put whole mind into present action, I'm making sure that as an entrepreneur, I am showing up for you 100%. In this moment, the only thing I care about is that I'm teaching you this material and you're getting what you deserve. That's it. That's all I care about. I'm thinking about nothing else. When this FB Live is over, when I'm done with my FB Lives, then I can move on to the next thing. So I want to talk to you about how do you do that? Because so often entrepreneurs deal with the issue of shiny object syndrome or wanting to do 15 things or start 2 different businesses or, and the question becomes, how do I focus on what is most important to get done, especially when you are a new entrepreneur? You have 50 million things that need to get done. And oftentimes you have not yet built a team who can take some of those things off your plate. So you can't necessarily delegate stuff. The question then becomes, how do I stay focused as I build a business? How do I focus on the right things as I build a business when I have 50,000 things that I need to do in order to build this business? And I'm going to answer that on today's FB Live. 5 strategies that you can use to put whole mind, all of you, into present action, into what you're doing in this moment. Strategy number 1. This is by far the most important strategy of the 5, which is why I'm giving it to you right now. Number 1, get acquainted with your zone of genius and live there. There will be lots of things in your business that you'll like to do. There will be lots of things in your business that you will hate to do. What new entrepreneurs do, and I've made this mistake, it is one of the biggest mistakes you could make, is to try to be everything in your business at all times to all things. The number one thing, I don't care if you have 80 things on your to-do list. I don't care if you are a solopreneur and you're like, I can't hire a VA and I don't have an assistant and I don't have a team and I don't have systems built. From day one of starting a business, you need to have a clear awareness of what is my zone of genius. In other words, what are the 3 to 5 things that I need to do on a consistent basis in my business in the form of daily massive action or DMA that only I can do, that literally are the things that are my talents, my gifts, my abilities. What are those things? And am I spending the bulk of my time when I work on my business on those things? That's your zone of genius. So for example, I can get a virtual assistant to post-produce my podcast. I cannot get somebody to replace me recording my podcast, me doing those solo episodes. That's in my zone of genius. So while I can delegate putting the audios together and then uploading them to iCloud and to iTunes and SoundCloud, I cannot delegate away the writing of my podcast episodes, the recording of my podcast episode. That's me. That's my zone of genius. So from day one in a business, you want to identify your zone of genius. And here's the thing, it's your 5%. I heard this from, oh my goodness, let me get his name because I do want to, Bedros Keuilian. Hadn't heard of him until a couple of days ago. He talked about what's your 5% and are you living in your business there? And a lot of new entrepreneurs go, but I can't live in my zone of genius because I've got to do accounting and I've got to do the books and I've got to post on Instagram. Your best energy and your first energy needs to be in your zone of genius, period. It needs to be the standard in your business. So strategy number 1, to put whole mind into present action, get acquainted with your zone of genius, your 5%, and live there. Strategy number 2, I talk about this all the time. In my course, The Focus Mindset Formula, this is what I teach. It is so serious, and this is how I run my day. Shorten your to-do list to your next 3 steps. That's it. You might have 50 things to do. You've got to shorten your to-do list to your next 3 steps and only the next 3 steps. So literally you get a 3x5 note card. You wake up in the morning, you say to yourself, okay, in my business, what are the next 3 simple steps that I need to take to be successful? What are the next 3 steps? And then you write them down on the 3x5 note card and you say to yourself, I have no permission to think about any other steps until these next 3 steps are done. It is how I run my show, and it has reduced my stress. It has reduced my sense of overwhelm because I might jot down on a notebook ideas that I have or, shiny objects that I want to pursue, but I do not give myself permission to pursue them until the next 3 steps are done. So by shortening your to-do list, even if you still have 50 things left to do, you feel way more accomplished when you actually get those 3 steps done. And you do put whole mind into present action because that's the only way you're going to get the next 3 steps done. So you can think about the next 3 steps. So strategy number 2, shorten your to-do list to your next 3 steps. Third thing you can do to put whole mind into present action, work at minimal distraction times. I am an early riser. Even when I don't set an alarm clock, I'm up probably by 4 a.m. most mornings. I love the morning time. I love people not being around. I'm a firm believer that you need to work at minimal distraction times. So if you are a nighttime person, wait till everybody goes to bed. Focus. If you are an early morning person, get up before everybody else gets up and focus. Because once people are awake in the world, in your house, in your life, your ability to focus completely is not all your own. And so work at minimal distraction times. And then number 4, fourth thing you can do to put whole mind into present action, have a refocus command. So I heard this on an audio, which I absolutely love. You need some sort of command. We're not dogs, but we still need commands that you say to yourself. It is a mental cue that you're off track and you've got to get back on track. So my mental command for focus is something I heard on audio, and I thought it was so cute because it was used with kids, and it's hocus pocus focus. Hocus pocus focus. And so if I say to myself, whether quietly or out loud, hocus pocus focus, that is my indicator that I'm having squirrel syndrome at the moment and I need to get back on task. So come up with a mental command for yourself that is going to get you back on task. That is the 4th thing you can do to put whole mind into present action. 5th thing you can do, and this is hard for perfectionists and overachievers, expect your best and know what that looks like each day. So one of the things I highly recommend if you haven't read it is Don Miguel Ruiz's book, The 4 Agreements. And in the 4 Agreements, he talks about the fact that you need to expect the best from yourself and from life and from situations, but you also need to understand that your best is going to look different depending on the day, the circumstances. What your best is when you have the flu is going to be very different than what your best is when you feel amazing and you got 8 hours of sleep. And so often, especially when we're starting a business, we hear all of these hustle and grind stories. And we're like, okay, I've got the flu, I've got bronchitis, but I still need to do 10 hours of my business today. It doesn't work that way. So on the one hand, you want to expect your best, and you know what that is. And on the other hand, you want to accept what that best looks like for today. And we always know when we're slacking. So let me just say, for those of you who think you have to be critical of yourself because, I want to make sure I'm not procrastinating, I'm not slacking. You know when you're slacking. So you might look like you're not slacking to other people, but when I'm slacking, I know it. So trust your inner knowing. And at the same time, wake up every day and say, I expect the best. And honor what the best is for you today. There is no success and no productivity that's going to come from constantly beating yourself up. It doesn't work. I've tried it for years. It does not work. So let me review this real quick. 5 strategies that you can use to put whole mind into present action. Strategy number 1, get acquainted with your zone of genius and live there. What is your 5%? Live there. Strategy number 2, shorten your to-do list to your next 3 steps. I know some people love to have 15 things on their list. Don't do it. Next 3 steps. Strategy number 3, work at minimal distraction times. If you got to get up early, you got to get up early. If you have to stay up late, you got to stay up late. Strategy number 4, have a refocus command that cues you when you are doing the squirrel shiny object syndrome thing. Mine is hocus pocus focus. Hocus pocus focus. And strategy number 5, expect your best and know what that looks like every single day, and be okay with the fact that it's going to differ every single day. All right. That is the FB Live for today. I hope you got something out of this. If you're watching on YouTube, please join us in the private community, facebook.com/groups/fire your inner critic. I will see you guys on the next FB Live.